Hello friends, Tanya here for Trinity Stamps, and today I wanted to play with the Layering Eggs stencil and and some other things from this release. We're going to start out with this Slimline layering stencil, and you can see that we have the masks included in this stencil set. I took a 5.5 by 8.5 inch piece of white cardstock and I put it on this sticky mat. It's one of the knockoff brand Cricut or Silhouette sticky pads, and I am adhering the paper. We're using antique linen, old paper, speckled egg, and tea dye distress oxides to color our eggs. These are colors that you can actually see your eggs sometimes be in real life, or at least a paler version of them. And I wanted to go with a fun layered eggs background. So I did my first row, and then I'm going to take the masks and lay them carefully over the eggs I've already stenciled, because each additional row is going to be behind the lower row. I'm just lining each of these masks up across the front of the card, and then I'm taking a piece of painter's tape, a nice long piece so it covers all of them, and I'm picking up all of those masks at once. I just fine-tune those and tape those down nicely, and with this sticky mat behind it, I don't have to worry about the stencil shifting, and I don't have to be taping each piece down. This actually works pretty slick. I haven't had any of these sticky mats in the past, and I thought I would give this a try. We're going to try to make sure that the colors of eggs aren't actually touching each other. So each time I lay them down, I try to figure it out. And as you can see, I'm altering between flipping the stencil front to back with each line of eggs so that there's some variation. I did the same with the mask, and since we have the sticky grid behind this, it sticks to the back of the masking tape. We're on row number 3 here, and I had this very sped up. This is 4 times the speed that I did this in, so it goes pretty fast. It actually didn't take me that long to do this background, and I really had a lot of fun doing it. I think I'm going to be using this method again very soon. On to our 4th row, making sure that we're cleaning our stencil between each row so we don't get any transfer of the ink when we flip the stencil to do the next row. I do end up duplicating some colors on this row because I'm trying to have one egg of each color in each vertical line of eggs. Didn't quite work out, but that's okay. We'll pull off the mask, and there is the big reveal of the 4 rows of layered eggs. I think this turned out fantastic. Now with your sticky mats, it does go best if you peel the sticky mat away from the paper instead of vice versa. Then you don't get a lot of extra curling. Next, I took some Distress Oxide in gathered twigs, and I'm squishing it onto the packaging here for the stencil. Adding some water to dilute that, and then I'm spattering it all over these eggs because we're going to have some speckled eggs. I do love a good speckled egg. Now, as I mentioned before, this is a 5.5 by 8.5 piece of cardstock, and we need to trim that down to make some cards. I pulled out the 4-bar card and envelope builder die set, and I'm using one of the 4-bar sized dies to cut out a panel. And then I have this 5 by 7 piece of heavyweight white cardstock, which I've scored at 3.5 inches. This makes a good 4-bar size. I showed you the Crafty Glue Friend glue, which is awesome. I just can't use that. Just remember that the Crafty Glue Friend is available in the Trinity store. We're going to adhere our layers to our 4-bar cards, and we're going to build the rest of our cards. I'm just adding these, centering them nicely. This is the second from the largest panel of the 4-bar dies, and they center nicely. This is the EGGstra Stamp and Die Set. This came out in the March release, and I'm going to stamp this big, bold sentiment twice on this piece of cardstock using VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink, which is a great solid hybrid ink. It's kind of a pigment ink. Actually, not hybrid. It's just a pigment ink. And I'm going to use some clear embossing powder to make that dry fast and have a clear raised extra specialness. Now, since I'm using a clear embossing ink, or excuse me, embossing powder, it does make this very nice and crisp. And if you had some extra powder somewhere, it really wouldn't show that much. Just going to quickly heat all of these different words, and then I'm going to pull out the coordinating dies, secure those with some tape, and die cut all of them. Next, we're going to use this really awesome ampersand from the 4-bar card and envelope builder set and die cut that from some scrap of the eggs. And this is the Slimline chicks. They've got these adorable chicks that are separate and some amazing sentiments that go right along with eggs and chicks. So we're going to stamp the chicks in their little eggs with some Hero Arts Intense Black ink and the sentiment with the VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink. I'm going to color the chicks with some Copic markers or alcohol markers, and we're going to heat set, emboss these sentiments so that they will again be nice and dry and have that beautiful raised shimmer, or excuse me, raised shininess from embossing. I did dry the ink from the images on these two so that they don't smear when I am coloring, because I did not wait very long. I'm using E30 and E31 on the eggshells and using some speckling on the bigger pieces of the eggshells. And then for the body of the chick, I did try this very light YR20. Did not work out well for me. Then I pulled out the YR21, and I think it's YR65 maybe. No, YR21 came in, and then, oh gosh, I'm going so fast I can't even tell. These are all YR colors. 61, 65, I think both came into play, and YR20 and 21, and I think that might have been YR02 that comes out to play with the orange feet also. I liked the pastel nature of those, and these colored up super fast. Next, I'm going to come back and stamp the chicks again using the Hero Arts Intense Black ink, because whenever you Copic color, it does tend to dull your lines, and I wanted them nice and crisp. Next, we're going to take the sentiment banner from Simply Sentimental You, and we're going to die cut these sentiments. I did some partial die cutting there, and I fussy cut the chicks. Next, we're going to take the, I had cut some extra pieces of cardstock with those coordinating word dies from EGGstra. I layered those up, so all of these words have an extra layer of cardstock behind them for a little extra height. And now I'm trying to figure out the placement of our words and our little images on the front. Now there's going to be two different feelings and sentiments for this. This one says Your EGGstra Special, and we've got our little upside down chick. I'm placing this so that the chick will snug in next to the word special. So I have to shift that a little bit to the left, and I've added some extra layers of scrap cardstock behind our little chick here. You can see 3 layers of cardstock, and I even have a little bit under that little piece of broken shell that sticks out to the left side. I did use a piece of masking tape to hold the card shut, so the things that I was applying to the front of the card would be easier to place without the front of the card popping open on me all the time. I put the ampersand on the upper portion of the inside of the card, and I'm lining up the second portion of this sentiment right over the bottom portion of the ampersand. I think that turned out great. This one says, let me open it so I can see, You Crack Me Up. That I think is perfect with our little upside down silly chick. And for our second card, the main image is going to be centered in the top portion of the card. And then we have the words centered beneath the chick in the same fashion. Just going to adhere all of these. There are 2 layers of extra cardstock behind our main image chick. And you can see that I did put a little bit of rosy cheeks around on this little guy when I was Copic coloring. And we're going to do the same arrangement with the ampersand on the inside and the rest of the sentiment, which says, "And you're my favorite chick." I think this is super cute without being too corny, but it is adorable. Now, I love how these came out, and you could leave them just as they are, or you could pull out some embellishments. I've got 3 different kinds of embellishments here, and I'm going to lay them on my card front and decide which one I like best. And it turns out that the fish flakes is what I'm going to go with. I love that iridescent quality. It's got pink, orange, yellow, blue, green. All of those colors are right there in these sequins. I'm going to use my precision glue tip, and this would work with the Crafty Glue Friend. Also, it has a very fine tip. And I'm using my pickup stick to pick all of those up. I did use my tidy tray to pour all of those sequins into so I can sort them out and get the 3 different sizes of sequins that I wanted to use very easily in our little tray. What's awesome about the tidy tray is it's easy to pour all of your embellishments right back in your container. So that's both of the cards that I created today. They're very similar, but they are so much fun. And I love to create a couple of cards at the same time when I'm creating. I hope you do too. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, now would be a great time to do that. If you're interested in any of the products that I used today, check that description box below. They are listed and linked as always. Please leave me a comment. I'd love to hear what you have to say. And until next time, here are a couple more videos I thought you might enjoy. Bye-bye.